Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Orchestry platform live demonstration, 24th of July, 2024. Really glad you're all in here. I know there's some other people as well, which are just coming through. But if you went or you have been to one of our demos before, particularly the last one, you know that 45 minutes is really not enough time to cover all of Orchestry. So why don't we get going here really quickly? And we will get right into all of the good stuff that Orchestry provides. A little bit about myself. I'm going to be your host here for the next 45 minutes. My name is Michal Pisarek. I'm both the CEO and the janitor here at Orchestry. This means I tend to do a little bit of everything. I'm also one of the founders as well. Lots of experience in Microsoft 365. I think about 15 years, maybe a little bit more in SharePoint on-prem and Microsoft 365 and that entire journey. My claim to fame, apart from leading the wonderful team at Orchestry, is I used to be a professional chef. So huge fan of food, huge fan of cooking, and all of that other good stuff that goes along with that as well. A little bit about us. If you don't know about Orchestry, we are a automation management governance and adoption platform for Microsoft 365. We really help organizations better manage, better secure, better govern Microsoft 365. But in addition to that, we also help your end users better adopt Microsoft 365 as well. Again, you're probably here because you're interested in Orchestry, which is fantastic. Check out what other people think about Orchestry as well. I always do this when I look at products. We tend to have really high G2 reviews. I think we won a bunch of awards through here as well. But again, no matter what product you're looking at, go have a look and do your research first. I'm not going to do the hard sell on Orchestry for you, but again, it's something that I think is really, really important. And we're really thankful to our customers and our partners for providing those reviews. All right. So what does Orchestry do? Why are we here? And what does Orchestry do? So essentially what we've tried to develop with Orchestry is a really beautiful, simple but powerful platform to help you address a lot of the common challenges that we know that organizations are having with Microsoft 365, regardless of where you are within that journey. Whether you've just migrated up to Microsoft 365 and you're just getting started, or maybe you've been using it for a long time, but you're seeing issues like sprawl and duplication of content and everything else happening. So some common challenges that we see, and the reason that we developed Orchestry, one of them is that lack of visibility and direction. As you know, being a Microsoft 365 administrator, really difficult job. It's really difficult to understand what's going on across all of Microsoft 365. Lots of different admin centers, lots of different reports. You're trying to use scripting. It's really difficult. It's really challenging. It's not getting any easier because Microsoft 365 is constantly bringing up more features and more capabilities. So we try to help you with that, to give you some real great visibility and direction in terms of what you should do when. The other challenge, of course, is with limited IT resources, right? I think Microsoft 365 administrators and people that work on the Microsoft 365 platform are probably the busiest IT people on earth. Well, apart from if you're working on endpoint device management and you have CrowdStrike, but apart from that, typically what we find is you're just constantly inundated, right? End user requests, people trying to understand what's going on. Can you add this user? Can you create this SharePoint site? Can you create this team? What is a SharePoint site? All of this stuff. So again, we want to kind of make Orchestry and give you the ability to streamline some of those processes. Of course, governance has always been a challenge with any management system. And again, we see that becoming more and more of a challenge with Microsoft 365. But not just governance, it's really balancing the adoption and the governance of the platform. You can't turn everything off in Microsoft 365 and have a really process for your users that if they try to request a team or a SharePoint site or a new user, they have to wait for days, hours, or weeks, because otherwise they're going to go to other systems. Conversely, having everything open when everyone can do whatever they want, probably not going to give you the best result over time either. So again, it's trying to find that balance between governance and adoption. Of course, security and compliance concerns, we hear that a lot from our customers. How do we understand, particularly in terms of Teams and SharePoint and OneDrive and groups, what are people creating? What are people sharing? Do we have members that they shouldn't be? Do we have a bunch of teams in SharePoint site with no owners and no guests, and all sorts of other security pieces? And the other thing, of course, is Copilot. Everyone's trying to get ready for Copilot. Everyone's trying to get ready for AI. We know it's the big thing that's happening. How do you get ready for that? What are some of the steps that you need to do? What are some of the things that you need to uncover from a security perspective or from a governance perspective to really have your content and have your organization ready to make sense of Copilot and Microsoft 365? And of course, we can help you with all of that. So what is Orchestry? So Orchestry is a platform built on top of Microsoft 365 with a whole range of capabilities. Everything from the end user side to help you with things like provisioning. And when people go and create a team or a SharePoint site, you can have things like really rich templates, make sure that all the security is in place, minimum owners, minimum members, all of that sort of capabilities that you need, helping drive standardization and helping drive adoption across the platform. We can also help you understand what's happening within your Microsoft 365 environment through a really rich set of reports to help you understand Teams usage, SharePoint usage, groups usage, all of that other stuff, how many guests you have, what your guests have access to, sharing links, all of these good pieces. Of course, there's no point us telling you that you've got a terrible environment if we can't help you fix it. So the other part of Orchestry is around what we call lifecycle management and governance, really giving the ability then for you to action on not just content that's been created forward, but maybe retroactively applying policies around content to do things like archiving and managing your security. The other two things that we have within Orchestry, which I'm going to cover in a little bit more detail today, because if you went to the last demo, we didn't cover it at all, is first thing is our intelligent recommendations engine. This is a new feature. We launched it about 6 months ago. And the reason that we did this is that there's so much stuff coming at you in Microsoft 365. What are you supposed to do when, right? What is important? And what are some of the best practices that maybe you're not adhering to within your environment? Well, our intelligent recommendations feature is going to help you understand exactly what's happening in your environment and what you should be doing. And the latest feature we released, actually just last Friday, is around health checks. Think of a health check as giving the ability for creating a snapshot of how your tenant is looking at any particular state, giving the ability to annotate that, and also giving you the ability to send that off to other people. So if Microsoft partner, imagine creating a health check as part of a managed service for your customers. Or if you're an internal IT team, imagine being able to create a health check to understand the health of your environment, maybe monthly, that you can discuss with your end users and your stakeholders. All right, enough around what Orchestry is. Let's go and rock and roll to here. So if you've never been to one of our demos, we do try to keep them as interactive as possible. I know that people are fairly shy, but please do ask questions as well through here as we go through. Again, social, there's all the social stuff. Go and get in touch with us with all of these things. In terms of an agenda, we're not going to do what everyone else is doing. I know you've come to this demo, and I know you, like me, you've been in previous demo and you see some guy with a strange accent waffle on for 35 minutes before they actually show you the product. We're not going to do that. We're just going to jump straight into Orchestry here. But before we do that, we also have a poll that we would love you to fill in. So if you want to fill in our survey, just click to it on the right-hand side here. Again, it'll help us understand a little bit more around who the audience is and who you folks are as well. So if you want to fill this in, please do that. And what we'll do is we'll get rocking and rolling with this demo as well through here. And I see a couple of things coming in. Now, a couple of questions we've had before this demo, which we'll get through. I'm curious if you have a solution for managed service providers. We do. We can talk about this as well. And then someone asked about the recommendations feature also, but we will give you the kind of broad overview of Orchestry here really quickly. Okay, so let me share my screen here. Remember, feel free to ask any questions. Let's talk a little bit about what Orchestry is and some of the benefits that it can offer. So at its simplest, Orchestry is a Microsoft 365 platform that's integrated into your environment. It's surfaced through a Teams app. Now, that Teams app is made available to your users, and it's made available for some of the Orchestry features that we have around things like provisioning, so being able to do things like request workspaces based on particular templates. It also allows us, or for your end users, to see a rich directory of Teams and SharePoint sites through here as well. So the other thing that we know that a lot of end users have significant challenges with is creating Teams or SharePoint sites that they know that that already exist, but those users don't know that it exists, so they create duplicates and everything else. But the nice thing with Orchestry is this directory can be used for your end users to see exactly what's going on. So I can come in here and say, well, do we have any Viva Engage communities, for instance? Or do we have any Microsoft Teams that maybe we've worked with a particular customer? Now you can see here, again, this might be something that you haven't seen before because it's not available out of the box. But what Orchestry also allows you to do is to add things like metadata, additional attributes on all of your workspaces. These attributes can be used for a number of different things, but one of the ways is you can use it to categorize your existing teams and SharePoint sites to provide a more filtered directory experience through here, for example. And of course, maybe customer and location and division doesn't really reflect your organization. This is all customizable through the Orchestry platform. So the first part that I want to talk about is a little bit around our provisioning experience. So what Orchestry allows you to do is to create what we call templates. Now, we want to create templates for two reasons. One of the ways is we know through our research, and you've probably seen in your own organization, that most people, when they create teams or SharePoint sites, they're not really using those capabilities. They'll create a team, they won't add any additional channels or tabs or do anything within SharePoint. Well, imagine if you can give your organization the experience that you have these templates based around specific business needs, managing projects, responding to RFPs, onboarding employees, whatever your organization needs, but all of these templates are ready to go for your users. So here within our organization, we want a way to manage projects. Here we've created a template, and this template has everything that I need and everything that I want my users to use. A set of predefined channels, a set of predefined tabs, other things. For instance, maybe we want people to use Planner. So we've got a set of Planner plans here, which is going to get copied over. If I go back here, we've got the full SharePoint site configured for our users as well. So we've got things like pages, lists, and libraries. And all of this, if you want to know how you create this, do I need custom code? Do I need developers? No, you just create this out of the box, and we're going to point Orchestry at this as well. So how do we take these templates and make them available into what we call workspaces within Orchestry and allow our users to go and request these pieces through here? So if I go to the Orchestry management area, this is where I can go and essentially start to define some of these templates. Now think of these templates as the ability to go and to define whatever you need, and in a much richer sense than out of the box provides. So let's imagine that we want to create a template for internal projects. Again, I'm going to go through this really quickly, but we can create a template, give it a name, give it a description, give it a logo, even give it a default workspace logo. So every team that we create is going to have that same logo. To make something into a live template and to copy all of that over, I just point Orchestry at an existing team or an existing SharePoint site. No need for any custom code for all of that. So again, now you can have these really rich templates built without the need to have things like developers having to create scripts and all of that. You just go configure your team, configure your SharePoint site, and then make that available. And then there's lots of other stuff that we can do as part of these templates. Maybe we can limit them to specific Azure Active Directory groups. But of course, remember at the beginning, I talked about how we want to balance the provisioning side of things, allowing people to create things, and the governance side as well. So here we can also manage the configuration around the governance piece, doing things like ensuring a permission level, or maybe a minimum set of owners or a minimum set of members. We even give you the ability to control things like group configuration options and allow you to have things like approval workflows and naming policies either as well. So again, lots and lots of power and flexibility here. And of course, the whole idea then is if I'm a user, I don't have to go for Teams or SharePoint for SharePoint. I can simply go to Orchestry. Again, I can see all of these templates that are available for me. I can then go through this request process. And again, there's lots of features and capabilities here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but a really simple, beautiful request process where I can be prompted for additional information to be added. As you can see, we've got a naming policy here. So this name is also going to be automatically applied. My users don't have to know anything about naming. They just have to choose some values, and we're going to do all of that for you. And the last thing we'll even do is when a user is creating a request, we'll even say, hey, something already with the same name already exists, so we're not going to allow you to do that. Or conversely, we're going to say, hey, you're trying to request something that looks like this, in this case, pilot. here's a bunch of other team SharePoint sites of Viva Engage communities that already exist with something with the same name. So we're trying to stop in duplication before it happens. So lots of capabilities on that provisioning side that we have here as well. The other piece, if you remember from last week, is around reporting and insights. So again, provisioning can really help you going forward, right? Understanding and making sure you have those templates. But how do we clean up a lot of the old stuff that we might have with Microsoft 365? So the other capability of Orchestry is what's called our Workspace Insights feature. This gives you a complete overview of all of the information that you have within your Microsoft 365 environment, whether it's a team, whether it's a team site, whether it's a communication site, or whether it's a Viva Engage community. We're going to pull this information out for you and show you. Now, this is typically information that if you weren't using Orchestry, you have to go to Teams for Teams Admin Center for the team stuff, and the SharePoint Admin Center for the admin stuff, and Viva Engage communities. You got to go somewhere else. And of course, if you want to know the users, you have to go to Azure AD. We bring all of this together for you in a beautiful, simple interface. And not only that, guide you through our recommendations engine in terms of what's really important or what you should be looking at. So the entry point to all of this information is this dashboard. So here I can see, how many teams I have in total, my life cycle status, which I'll talk about. I can see an overview of the workspace creation, how many have been created, let's say in the last 90 days, renewed or archived. And this is not just Orchestry specific things. This is anything with your environment. The most powerful thing we do, though, is around inactivity. We can even tell you out of all your teams and SharePoint sites and groups and everything else you have, what you have, and when the last time it was used. And not only when it was used, for instance, at the group level, but we can also look at it in terms of individual things. So I can see here, we have this team called the Orchestry Product Development Research Team. The last time the team was used was 302 days ago. Conversations, reactions, or replies. Last time the mailbox used was 302 days ago, but the last time the SharePoint site was used was 22 days ago. So what this means is that people have a team. They're using the SharePoint site, a little bit of it, but they're not having any conversations within the channels. So again, we can really uncover some of those insights for you. And what people commonly do when they go through an Orchestry trial, which we have available, they put in Orchestry, come back the next day, sort on days inactive, and this is typically where the blood drains out of people's faces, right? Where they see they have things which are unavailable or haven't been used for months, weeks, or potentially years. Lots of other insights, though, as well. It's not just about inactivity, of course. We want to know everything about our workspaces. We want to maybe understand, do we have any ownerless workspaces? Team, SharePoint sites, or groups with no owners, for example. And if they have no owners, how many members or guests, how many documents exist, how much space is being used, how inactive they are, or how many list items they have. Again, we can show you all of this through here as well. We can also see things around customizations. So if you want to know, are people actually going in and adding tabs and channels and everything else? Again, we can see that available through here also. Other types of insight reports, and this is just a really high-level overview. My favorite is around the workspace content. No need to do a content audit with Orchestry because we're going to tell you everything, right? How many documents, how many pages, list items, space usage, and all of that sort of stuff as well through here. Lots of other insights that can help you understand the platform more as well. But if I want to drill down and understand an individual workspace more, I can do that as well. So let's look at our Orchestry Product Development Research Team here. And I can see exactly when it was created, who it was requested by, the storage is being used, of course, the SharePoint sharing settings, which is great. And then down the bottom here, I can also see things around things like page views or storage of how many files have been viewed and edited. Now, this looks terrible because, of course, this is a demo environment, we never actually use it. But these are graphs, which would show you over time exactly how things have been used. So really powerful to help you understand exactly what those items are. And again, if I want to know the users, I can show you this as well. Now, this is all great, right? And again, one of the things we heard from our customers is there's a lot of information here, right? There's a lot of different insight reports to help me understand kind of what's going on. But how do I make the decisions, or what are some of those best practices? What are some recommendations that Orchestry can provide to make sure that my tenant and my environment is always in the best state? So I'm going to go to the Orchestry web app here because it gives us a little bit more space. and I'm going to go to one of our new features, which I really love, which is what's called the Orchestry Recommendations feature. What this feature does is we look at your environment, we have a whole range of best practice rules, and we apply them, and then we can actually tell you what you should be doing to make sure that your environment adheres to various best practices in Microsoft 365. And the reason that we did this is, again, if you're an admin or if you're an organization, it's difficult to know what you should tackle first. Our recommendations tool is going to help you that. But in addition to that, we didn't want to just do this around, Teams and SharePoint. We also wanted to bring in other products that we can analyze. Things like Defender for something like Secure Score, Azure AD or Entra ID for users, Viva Connections or Viva Engage for some of the adoption pieces. So it really is like this kind of intelligent engine that we run that can be that starting point for your day and for your organization in terms of what should I be concentrating on today. So when I land on my recommendations engine, we see that there's 28 open recommendations. We've resolved 4 of them, and we've snoozed 2. Now, snoozing is really interesting because, again, we know that not every recommendation is going to be relevant to every organization. So instead of these things just harassing you all the time and coming up when they come, you can snooze these and get back to these later. So for instance, I, in a previous demo on July the 12th, basically said, well, listen, we don't care about hub sites. We're not going to use them. So let's snooze them. And this is going to reopen the next time it's flagged for processing. So in a couple of months when I'm ready to get to this recommendation. But when I look at this, I see there's a lot of recommendations here. So one of the things I can do is maybe flag it or filter by urgency. So really beautiful experience, again, to help you drill down what you need. I might just be interested in stuff that's urgent. And not only that, not just the urgent stuff, but what I'm really interested is in things like security. So I can filter on these items and I can see there's 2 available here also. I might be interested, for instance, in just a particular tool set. So I can say, well, I'm just interested in the stuff from Defender. For instance, I click on Defender, click on Apply. Again, we're going to filter all of this for you. So really beautiful, really simple experience here as well. Let me clear all of these. For each one of these recommendations, again, we're not just going to say, hey, you should do this. If you know anything about Orchestry, we want to empower you and help you understand why we're recommending this. So for any recommendation, I can click on View Details. We can tell you what the recommendation is. We can tell you why you care. We can even send you to some resources. So really great way for you to understand this recommendation. And the reason that we do this is, again, we have hundreds of customers. We see so much activity. We know what things are going to work, right? You don't have to go to a consulting company. You don't have to work this out yourself. We want to provide this information for you. And for each one of these recommendations, I can automatically resolve them, or I can even go to a report that we've created that tells you exactly why this recommendation has fired. So in this case, we have a recommendation that says, hey, you have workspaces, Teams or SharePoint sites that have forbidden guests. So what's a forbidden guest? And this is something that's really common. A forbidden guest is a guest in a team or a SharePoint site or group where they shouldn't be. And the reason that this typically happens is someone goes, creates a team or a SharePoint site, adds a bunch of guests, and then someone's like, oh no, guests shouldn't be there. So maybe they apply a sensitivity label that stops guests, or they block it at the group level. People think that those guests automatically get removed, and they don't. Those guests still sit there. So we call them forbidden guests or ghosts, for instance. But this is a really difficult thing to script out, right? All of these rules you're not going to script out. But of course, with Orchestry, we can do that for you as well. So here I can see that this particular workspace has got a forbidden guest through here. If I go back to the user tab here, once it launches here, again, I can see who those guests are and I can remove them. So I can see here that David Franco is in here. They shouldn't be, again, because remember, guest access is disabled, and I can go and remove the guests from the workspace as well here. So again, super easy and super simple, but lots of really powerful workspaces. Some of them around security. If your security score is low, for instance, some of them more around managing things like sprawl. So let's concentrate on sprawl today because it's a pretty big issue. I'm going to click on the sprawl category, and I can see that we've got a bunch of recommendations here. You have a bunch of workspaces which are inactive. You have a bunch of workspaces which don't have any current members, right? So that's not great because you don't want everyone to be an owner. So let's open that report through here and see that as well. You've got a bunch of workspaces which have never been used. We see this all the time. People creating a team or a SharePoint site and they never use it, right? We can show you that as well. Maybe you've got a bunch of workspaces with no content, or you've got a bunch of teams with no conversations. Again, you can instantly be led to any of these reports and see all of these. So for instance, my workspace without any members, I've got 175 teams and SharePoint sites that don't have any members within here, right? That's not a good thing. You don't want everyone to be owners. They should be members as well through here. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of the power of this recommendations engine. And in addition to that, one of your questions might be, well, this is great if I'm an admin, but there's probably recommendations that Orchestry doesn't do and won't do. How do I use this as maybe a way to consolidate on things our entire IT department can do? How could I possibly add my own recommendations to this? So this becomes almost like a task list. Well, of course, we can do this as well. So I'm going to click on add, and I'm going to add a custom recommendation here. Now, before I start typing, I have to say that I can't type when I'm in a demo, so you're going to see a lot of mistakes. I know you people are probably laughing in the background. I accept that, but it's just the way it's going to be. Okay, so one of our recommendations is going to be look at implementing retention. See, I told you, I'm going to say retention labels, right? So this is something that we might want to do, and we're going to say, well, this is going really badly here. Let's implement retention, right? Because we don't have that environment. So to discuss with internal, whoa, this is going badly. With internal team through here. Let me use spell check here. Perfect. Now, priority, I'm going to say this is something that's urgent. We want to do that. We're going to say this is around storage and cost savings and some sprawl stuff. And we're going to say that this relates to SharePoint and Teams, right? So I'm going to click on add. Really nice. We're going to add this recommendation here for you. Now you've got your own custom recommendation here, right? Really great now that you can have your own particular list of recommendations through here. So again, we view this recommendations feature, it's all part of the Orchestry platform, as a way that if you're an admin, you can get started really, really quickly to help you understand what's going on. And again, we have just launched this. We've only got about 40 recommendations at the moment, but next month, we're launching another huge set of recommendations all around Copilot readiness. Right? Helping you understand what you should be doing for Copilot readiness, understanding sprawl, understanding duplication, understanding, if your SharePoint sharing settings are incorrect. It's very difficult to say, but all of these items. And we're going to build this on more and more over the, days, weeks, months, and years here. And we want this to be the ultimate tool to help you really guide where you should place your efforts within Microsoft 365. Now, recommendations are great, but the other new feature that we've just released is what's called our Orchestry Health Check feature. Now, another thing that we heard a lot from our customers, and particularly our Microsoft partners, is this ability that, we're doing a lot of things in Microsoft 365. It would be great if maybe every month or every couple of months, I can create something what's called a health check, which basically gives me an entire overview of my tenant. Maybe I want to send that to a partner or if I'm a partner, I want to send that to a customer, for instance, so we can discuss some potential services opportunities. Or if I'm an internal IT team, this would be great that every 3 months or 6 months or monthly, I can create one of these health checks to really help me understand my entire tenant and use that as discussion points for what's happened in the last month and what do we want to do in the next month through here. So creating a health check is pretty simple. Here we have one that we've already created previously. We're going to call this our 30-day partner health check. And again, super easy to create. And this has a wealth of really powerful information through here. Now, I'm going to show you this one because this is part of our demo environment. Again, it's not particularly great because the information is not that great because, again, we don't kind of use this demo environment through here. But I'm going to go show you another one, which is going to be much more interesting for you in just a moment. But in terms of what we can do with this health check or what type of information is available through here, a whole bunch of Orchestry stats as well through here. Again, if you're using Orchestry, how many things you've provisioned and archivals and guests and so forth. Your workspace growth in terms of storage, your workspace growth, so how many teams and SharePoint sites have been created over that time period, full reporting into everything that you've had and how that's grown over time, which is really powerful. So we can see we've got 485 teams here. 37 were created in the last reporting period, which in this case is 30 days through here. And we can see things like teams and private channel growth, team sites, communication sites, classic sites. Even now we support Viva, Engage, and OneDrive spaces. So we can show you that projection of kind of growth and what's happened over the last month as well. We're also benchmark things like workspace inactivity, how inactive those workspaces are. Again, one of the things that you want to do, of course, is to lower that inactivity down. Because again, if you have a whole bunch of inactive workspaces, you can archive them. And I'll show you how we can do that with Orchestry as well. Things like guests, adding particular guests or your secure score, particularly around Copilot readiness. This is really powerful. Again, sharing links, how many anonymous, how many organizational, how many secure, internal and secure guest links were created through here as well. Again, I'll show you a report with much better data, storage analysis, Teams engagement, really powerful, and your leaderboard of who is doing what, and of course, some recommendations through here. Now, this is a demo environment, so like I said, this doesn't look particularly hot through here, but let me show you another one. Hopefully we can see this one. Perfect. So this is from an actual tenant that we use a lot, and this shows you a really good bunch of interesting information. So things like workspace inactivity has gone up, which isn't great. We can see this tenant, for instance, they're constantly adding guests through here as well. So maybe there's an opportunity here to be able to go through a guest cleanup process, which we can do with Orchestry. A lot of sharing links created as well through here. The really nice thing, though, is they're not using any anonymous links. They're using lots of organizational and secure internal links as well, which is great. And they're not sharing anything with guests either, which is probably a good thing as well. If you have a lot of anonymous links in particular, this can be a challenge. We also see storage growth, OneDrive, and Teams engagement. This for me is really interesting, right? As well. How many peak daily active users, how many channel messages were sent across that time period, channel messages, are any conversations, reactions, are any messages in terms of Teams, versus how many chat messages were sent. So you can see in this organization in particular, a lot of people use one-to-one chat. Not many people are using channel messages, which are the messages within Teams as well. So that's probably something that we should discuss. People are using reactions though, and a lot of mentions. Again, the leaderboard here as well, right? What has grown over that time period as well through here. So how much, maybe a particular workspace has grown. So what's your top workspace in terms of storage, or how much growth has happened over the last 30 days, how many files have created, how many files have been viewed and edited. Basically what this seems is that this marketing team here gets a lot of action, right? Which makes sense as well through here. So again, super easy and super simple to create these health checks through here. But the other thing that I might want to do, I'm going to jump back to the other one here as well. So the data is going to be a bit different. But the other thing is, this is great, but maybe I also want to add some flavor and add some context to this. So I can click on edit, and now I can annotate this work with this report. So again, if you're a partner, imagine creating this in a multi-tenant view for one of your customers and sending it over to them. Conversely, if you're an internal IT team, you're like, okay, so this is good. And maybe I want to add some annotation and send this out to my team, or send this out to my executive committee to help them understand. So at the moment, we can see here that our secure score is pretty low. I'm going to click on the kind of annotation. I'm going to say we really need to look at our secure score as it's terrible. Now, 38 is terrible. Again, this is a demo environment. We never use it. So I'm going to click on save. So again, this annotation now is going to be added, and this annotation now becomes part of this report that you can share with people, and now people can view and see those annotations through here. So maybe I also want to add some annotations around Teams engagement. And then why is no one using Teams, like at all? which is the case here, because again, it's a demo environment. We just demo. We don't have any conversations through here. So really nice way to be able to add those annotations through here. Again, the other thing that I can also do is add like a report wide annotation. So I can say here, it's looking good, but some areas for concern as well through here. Click on save, right? This is all great. I can click on stop editing. I can see there's three annotations. And then what I can then do is actually publish this out, right? And once I publish this out and someone has the ability to view this, so let me go back here. Again, for this annotation, for this thing, I can share this out to particular users within my organization. And when they go into here, what they're going to see is they're going to see this health check report through here, and they're also going to see all of the annotations. So they can click on here as well. So again, this for us is something that we think and we know is going to be really powerful. If you're a Microsoft partner in particular, we do have a multi-tenant view available. So you can actually generate these reports on behalf of your customers and use this as a way to drive additional services revenue. But if you're an internal IT team, the really nice thing about this as well is you can use this and you can create as many health checks as you want. And of course, this is just part or just our first health check that we're going to be creating. Of course, over time, we're going to be creating more health checks. And one of the ones we're going to be looking at towards the end of this year is going to be about Copilot readiness. So doing a health check to see, are we ready for Copilot in terms of permissions and sharing and all of those prerequisites that we might need also. So in this case, we have our health check. We've seen that our inactivity here for workspaces is not particularly great. It's 72% inactive, so that's not great. So what can we do about that? So the final thing here, again, in this last 5 minutes that we're going to go through is, now that we understand that we have maybe a bunch of workspaces which are inactive, can we essentially go and archive them? So let's go and click on our recommendations. Let's look at something like a scroll recommendations through here. And I can see we have a recommendation for, hey, we've got a number of workspaces which have been inactive for more than your inactivity threshold. Okay, so let's see which workspaces they are first of all. Right, so you can see how this all kind of fits together. We have that report. That report has recommendations. We can look at these recommendations. We see we have a bunch of inactive workspaces, 465 of them. That's not great, right, at all. What can we do with Orchestry to help you clean these inactive workspaces up? Well, the other part of Orchestry, told you there's a lot to this platform, but the other part of Orchestry, which I really love, is our ability to add policies. And one of the best ones we have is what's called a renew or an archival policy. So what this gives you the ability to do is to do that cleanup where you can go in, create a policy, attach it to a team, a SharePoint site, a group, or whatever you want. And then you can send that out to your end users or your team owners or your SharePoint site owners, and then perform an archival of that workspace. So let's imagine you've decided that, yep, we've seen our health check. We've got lots of these things which are inactive. We're trying to get ready for Copilot. So we got to clean these things up. So we're going to say, okay, we're going to attach a policy to any team. If it hasn't been active for more than 180 days, so of course we know the inactivity because we're tracking that with Orchestra, what we're going to do is we're going to contact the owners and we're going to get an approval for what we call an in-place archive. So we're going to say any team, if it's been inactive here for more than 180 days, and lots of flexibility within Orchestra, it could be 5 days, it could be 3 years. Again, you can use whatever you want. What we're going to then do is we're not just going to do this because, again, a big misnomer for particularly governance at any sort of scale, as IT teams, you can't just go and start deleting stuff and removing. It just doesn't work like that, right? The best way is how can we get our content owners, our end users involved? Out of the box in Microsoft 365, that's really difficult. And it's really difficult even to do by custom code because, as you know, you send people an email, they never respond back to you. If they do, it's all super difficult. We make this process super simple and easy for you. So we're going to say for this policy to execute, we're going to require an approval. The approval is going to come from the workspace owners. Again, it could be the members. It could be specific users if you want to do this centrally through maybe a cleanup group. But in this case, we want to contact the owners. You've got the ability here to also have some notification text. So you can have your own custom text. So so it's customized to your organization. As you also know, no one responds to the first of anything these days. I don't know why, people just don't. So again, one of the big challenges is that, well, if we send someone an email, they don't get back to us, what do we do? Orchestry can help you with that by having a notification cadence that's going to ping these people until you get a response. And in this case, we're going to send a notification once a day, and we're going to try for 5 amount of times. Maybe you want to allow them to renew. But the other thing I really want to kind of quickly touch on is, well, what happens if they don't perform an action, right? This is really common, particularly at scale. You send a bunch of these notifications out. Even though you've pinged these people 5 days, they still don't do anything, or maybe the group's ownerless, or you can even escalate this as well. So you're always going to be in control within Orchestry, and that can save you tens, hundreds, thousands of hours. Imagine the hours if you've got 10,000 workspaces, you have to send 10,000 emails or notifications and ask these people again. It's so much time and effort. We're going to make that process really simple for you. So we're going to do the notification piece here as well. How are we going to notify people? Well, we have to be where people are. So they're in Outlook and they're in Teams. So we can automatically notify them with an email as well as a Teams notification. So they're doing everything in context. But the biggest thing that we do is how we archive content. Now, in Microsoft 365, the kind of archiving of content at the moment, it's either you delete it, right? So that content gets removed, or you do something like a Teams archive. And then there's also, to make it more confusing, a Microsoft archive function. But that kind of just keeps everything where it is. It doesn't do anything on it. That stuff just sits there. What we've created within Orchestry is a way for you to do your own archival processes through a series of actions, which we know you probably want to do, but you're never going to do manually because it's too painful. And you're not going to write the custom code to do this as well because it's too much of a pain, but Orchestry can do it for you. So what we're going to say is, when we archive this team, we're going to set the team status to archive. That's the same thing if you go to Teams, to the Teams admin center, or an end user goes and clicks on archive team. On the SharePoint side, we can do things like set the site to read only. Maybe you want to attach it to a hub. We even give you the option on archiving that you might want to remove that site from search and Copilot processing, right? You don't want that archived content to be part of Copilot. We can give you the ability to do that as well. We can give you the ability to change the name of the group, of the team, of the SharePoint site. So people now know that when it was archived. So we're going to change the name, put archived in today's date. But two things which I really love. One of them is the ability to remove previous versions of content, saving on huge amount of storage as part of an archival. And the other one here is around permissions, being able to change permissions. So being able to automatically remove guests or promote owners or downgrade owners to members and change ownership. And we'll even give you the ability here to extract the permission configuration. Now, once these are all done and these are all created, super simple to basically go and define these policies, attach them. And what's going to happen is these policies are going to be attached. These policies are going to fire on a nightly basis through here. And if I go to some of the notifications that I have here, I can see that I'm an owner of this particular workspace. This policy has triggered through here. Hey, it's been classified as inactive. I can say, well, I don't need this anymore. Right? Click on archive and click on submit. Now you can do that for 1, you can do that for 100, you can do that for 1,000 teams or 100,000 teams. It's all, we're going to make it all super simple and easy for you. All right, let me go back here, folks, to the presentation if I can find it. Hang on. There we go. Present. Perfect. Like I said, a lot in 45 minutes. A lot in 45 minutes in terms of what Orchestry has. But hopefully that's given you a bit of an overview, right, of what Orchestry has through here. Again, lots and lots of things to cover. I know it's a lot there. If you do have any questions, reach out to us or come to the next demo. But if you're interested, what can we do here, right? First thing is you can have Orchestry in your environment for 28 days for free, right? With all of the capabilities. This is not the kind of same nonsense where it's like, oh, it's a trial, but you have to give us your credit card or half the stuff doesn't work. We don't do that, right? How you can have Orchestry in your environment, 28 days, full functional trial. If you are interested, please get in touch with us. We're more than happy to do that for you. We are SOC 2 Type 2 certified. We have all of the security in place, all of that sort of stuff. And again, you can put in Orchestry, look at the data, maybe do some cleanup, understand it. If you don't like it, Of course, you can remove it at the end, but we think, again, you're going to love it. If you are interested as well, we also have what's called a managed evaluation process as part of this. So we're not just going to give you a trial, we can actually take you step by step through Orchestry and through some of those capabilities to help you understand the platform and seeing if it's a fit for you also. All right. 45 minutes goes fast, goes very fast. But hopefully, for everyone on the call, that gives you a bit of an overview of the Orchestry platform. Again, the idea is we can help you understand your platform, help you clean up all of these pieces, and with some of our new features around recommendations and some of our new features around health checks, again, give you much more of an insight into the platform. I want to thank you for your time. Hopefully you found this enjoyable. I know it's a lot of info. I do apologize, but again, just let it kind of wash over you. And if you are interested in getting in touch with us, please reach out to us, reach out to myself, reach out to the Orchestry team here, go to the website, request a trial, we'll get you started. You're going to love it, and it's going to give you so much insight and so much power to help you understand Microsoft 365 better. Again, thank you everyone for your time, and we shall see you next time for the next Orchestry demo series.